Well, well, well. The Kings are in the postseason for the first time since 2006, and we have to bring on a guy that we've talked to a lot throughout the years, but usually it's about, all right, let's talk draft or offseason. It's ESPN's front office insider, Bobby Marks. How you doing, Bobby?
I'm good, guys. I'm so happy I don't have to write a Kings offseason article today, and I don't have to talk to you about who they're going to hire as the next coach and what to do with the third pick in the draft. And, the team behind me has to, New Orleans, they can worry about that, right? Like all the
Yeah.
teams that are out. But it's been it's been a great year in Sacramento and certainly exceeded expectations. I had them as I think I went on NBA Today in August, and they looked at me like I had three heads, and I said that they were going to be a play-in team. That's right. I thought they really had a legit chance at being a play-in team, and certainly have, as I said, exceeded expectations. Probably the most consistent team of the year, like from start to finish, really.
Yeah.
Not a big gap where there was no like 8 or 9 game losing streak. And but yeah, it's good. It's fun times. I'm sure it's fun times to be in Northern California.
It's just strange because it's been so long. What was Bobby Marks doing in 2006, the
Oh
last
my
time?
God. My 17-year-old son was born. His birthday was Tuesday. He turned 17. He's a junior, and he was born. We were getting ready for the playoffs. We played 0506. We played Indiana in the first round. That was kind of towards the tail end of Jason Kidd era ish. And then we lost to that Heat team that wound up beating Dallas in the finals that year. And yeah, my 14-year-old was not born yet. And yeah, I was living in New Jersey too. So it's a little with things, and I had more hair.
I was gonna say
That's the biggest thing. I had more hair
I
and more
love that you said
stress.
that. I love that you said that because I was literally about to say I think Bobby actually had hair back then.
Oh, you're going for the hair
Yeah.
swap.
More
Nice.
stress. It's crazy because when my son was born, my son Jake was born, I didn't go to Indiana for the first round. And I had this phobia whenever the team would go on the road and I wasn't with them. I couldn't watch the game live. Like I just get nervous a lot. And even when I was
What?
home, I would walk the concourse a lot.
Yeah.
So we were playing game 3, I think, and I mowed the lawn. I was out there mowing the lawn, and I
Oh,
had my phone, and it's such a weird habit. And I would like kind of just peek at the score, third, and see, okay, we're good. And then I'd go back and yeah, totally. I don't have to worry about that anymore. Like that stuff, I don't have to worry about. But there's nothing better than the playoffs. There's nothing better than a home game playoffs. It's a roller coaster though. I mean, it's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
That's I would warn everyone who hasn't experienced it in a long time. It is we in 2013 we beat Chicago by like 30 in game 1, blew them out, and then lost game 2. And then you're thinking, oh my God, now we got to steal a game on the road, right? And so it's just going to be the ebbs. The ebbs and flows of this series where hey, you might lose game 1 and you might think, oh my God, this series isn't come back after Golden State. But I think you just have to, from a outsider, not within that locker room, you have to kind of just control your emotions throughout the series.
see, and that's it, Bobby, because it's been so long, just like we were talking about. It is so foreign, not only to us and to other Kings fans in the city, but, we were talking even a little bit before the podcast, just with the organization and everything, all the little things that go into this and taking on a team that is the defending champs. It's just like, what are the odds that it's like this? But you started talking about how you thought that this could be a play-in team in the beginning of the season. I was kind of in that same boat. But when was it for you that you realized, okay, this is the real deal? What switched that for you?
They never moved out of that. They never really fell into the back of the pack, right? When Golden State and the Clippers and some of those teams were just hanging around 500, they consistently stayed in the top 3 all season here. I don't know if there was a defining moment here. I think what's helped is that this team has been healthy, right? There hasn't been, Sabonis has had the hand, but he hasn't missed a considerable amount of time here. But I don't know if there was that one moment where I was like, man, this team could be good. I just thought like I always say, give me 30 games, right? Like give me 30 games. Let's see where this team is. And if they're still there, then I think they have a chance. And Mike's done a great job with this group.
Oh.
I think the best thing with Mike is that he's never really let them allowed to have their guard down. And I think that's the beauty of getting Golden State in the first round. Like nobody's picked. I mean, shit, I'm the only one who picked them, I think. And someone else at ESPN, like Spears didn't even pick them. And I got to call Spears because he's the ultimate Sacramento fan. And he didn't even pick them. And so I think it worked out in their favor that you get Golden State. Nobody's picking. You've got an edge, right? Us against the world mentality. They'll probably get some Warrior fans in there. It's not like you're rolling in and you've got Minnesota. No offense to the Timberwolves, but maybe you could take your foot off the gas a little bit here, and you're going to have to play great basketball 48 minutes. It's like, and what they'll learn, what De'Aaron will learn, Sabonis has been there, but what Keegan will learn is like how valuable each possession is. Like how valuable each possession is in the NBA Finals, and you got to get stops. You got to get stops when you need it. Right. Like, it's because it slows down. Like this game will slow down tremendously here, but it's been a great year. I think they can win this series. I think I had them in 6. So that means they're stealing a game in Golden State somewhere. But it's, it's great for the league. I think it's great for the league. Sacramento, Oklahoma City, teams like that. And I know it's been a long time in Sacramento, but that didn't really skip, didn't go out and spend $40 million and had to trade 4 draft picks to get that one guy here where they've kind of, organically have built the roster.
Yeah. And it feels like it's kind of built to be sustainable here for at least a few years. Of course, tweaks won't be made and stuff, but I feel like it's a little more sustainable. Something you were talking about too was just the different types of play when it comes to playoff time, the physicality, the pressure. Mike Brown said something interesting yesterday. He said the pressure's on the Golden State Warriors, right? There's no pressure on us. And I thought that was an interesting message to put out there. And I get it. It makes a lot of sense. I also want to go back to something you said about the series. You said Kings in 6.
Yes.
What made you go that route? I mean, with everything we just talked about, like, hey, the physicality, they haven't faced that. The Warriors, they've been there. They've done it. Why do you think this Kings team can do something that no other Western Conference team has done in the Steve Kerr era, and that's eliminate the Golden State Warriors?
I'm not buying that all of a sudden Golden State can flip the switch on defensively. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. And I know, we can throw out their road record is awful, and you could say, well, all you have to do is just take one, right? Like they can win 9 games during the regular season. All you got to win is game 1 or 2, and then you have control of the series. I haven't seen a consistent, and you're going to get Wiggins back, and that's certainly going to make a difference, but I haven't seen a consistency from this roster from start to finish here. And I think everyone is just relying on that championship equity, right? Championship equity. That's why we should give them the doubt. I don't give them the doubt. I think their bench is a lot different than a year ago. You get Peyton back. Yes. And, Poole will come off the bench. DiVincenzo. I think the size could hurt them a little bit here. I mean, you're basically relying on Looney and Green. Your depth isn't there. Of course you got Thompson and Curry, which is tough, but I'm looking at the whole body of work this year. It hasn't been consistent enough for me to think that this is a chance. I mean, hey, if they get through the first round, then I could say, you know what, then here they go. But I think I would rather face this team in round 1 than in the Western Conference Finals. Like get them early. Like I think that's going to be the important part.
I agree. And I've been mixed on how to look at the Warriors season, just because you're right. They've been inconsistent, but with Wiggins missing so much time, Curry missed time. That win at home where they rallied back against the Pelicans stuck out to me.
Yeah, that was probably, if you're gonna look at a moment, like a signature moment, that would be the moment. And it was a home game, but that second half, and you're thinking like this, if they're gonna do it, this is how they're gonna have to do it, right? And so basically, what it has to happen is Draymond to lose his mind, right? Like he did in the first half, get him going, right? Like, and basically everyone rally around that. So I think that's going to be the big thing is like, you're going to have to keep your composure here, right? Like you're going to have like, whether it be Sabonis or I think Keegan's going to be, this is new to him, right? This isn't round 1 of the NCAA tournament in Iowa. Like this is a whole new, but Harrison's got championship equity. Yeah. He's been here before. The big thing is to keep your composure. You get out to a 28-14 lead on game 1, like it ain't over. right? Like it ain't over. Just you got to just stay consistent. But that New Orleans game, if you are looking at that one game that could be a signature moment for Golden State, why people should pick them, that's probably it.
Yeah. I mean, like you talk about flipping the switch. That was like the moment that they flipped the switch. All the turnovers in the first half. And then that second half, they really cleaned it up. Their offense looked a lot better, swinging the ball around. So you feel like they're capable and it's still there. But something that Mike Brown also talked about was just not showing any signs of doubt, right? And that's where you keep your composure. Do you think that there's going to be an X factor player from the Sacramento Kings roster in this series? And I think when I think of composure, I think of like Keegan Murray, and I think he could be an X factor, but at the same time I go, rookie. He's a rookie.
Yeah.
What about for you?
Malik.
Okay.
I think it's Malik Monk. I just like, I'm going to dial back for like 20 years ago, being in New Jersey. We had Lucius Harris, who was our sixth man. And he was so big in the playoffs because a guy who can come off your bench and hit shots, like especially when the game slows down and you're basically in the half court, you're going to need one of those guys to come off, give you 12 to 14 points consistently off their bench. I think for me, it's Malik. I'm not worried about De'Aaron first time around. Herter's been there before in Atlanta. Certainly you mentioned Keegan, Barnes, Sabonis has been in the playoffs before. Trey Lyles could be an X factor. I mean, I think you're going to see what you'll see is 7 or 8 guys Mike will go with. I mean, the rotation certainly shortens here, and maybe see another player kind of spot minutes. But I think for me, it's probably Malik, just the ability to kind of come off the bench and make shots.
One thing that I was looking at, it's really weird with Sacramento because defense gets brought up a ton, right? They haven't improved maybe like Mike's wanted them to in year one, but they're 24th on the season. At home, they have the 29th defensive rating in the NBA. On the road, 8th. And I don't know what that means. I don't know how to think about that. I don't know if that's a focus thing. But I just wonder if Sacramento has a different level that they can get to now with the playoffs here. There's not like going to be the lulls in the season. Like you said, they got to be ready. Game one. Like you can't dick around with the Warriors. You got to be ready to go. I don't think they're a team that's top 10 in defensive rating, but maybe they're not as bad as they have been at home. Where do you think Sacramento can be defensively? Do you think they can be better come playoff time?
I think you'd probably be in the middle of the pack. So, I mean, is that 15th? It's funny because I think when you're at home, you kind of exhale a little bit here. And I think there is a focus issue sometimes defensively that you can just, hey, we can just outscore teams and we're just going to rely on our home crowd, right? Like we can get down 8 and we're just going to rely on them to get us on a 10-0 run. We'll make shots. We'll get out in transition. I think when you get on the road, it's harder because it's basically us against the world, right? It's us against 20,000 people in an arena. And basically we have to stick together here, where at home, you probably take your foot off the gas a little bit. But so it's different, right? Now it's different here where you lose a game, you're down, right? You lose 2 games, this thing could be over by next weekend here. So I do think, are they a top 10? Can they be a top 10 defense? I don't know about that, but can they be a consistently 15th out of, 30 teams? Can they be in the middle pack out of the 16 playoff teams? I think they can. But as I said, like you can't get in a position where it's a track meet. Like you can't, like if we're seeing scores in like high 120s, I think it could be trouble a little bit, but you've got to string along some stops along the way.
Yeah, no, that's going to be key. And one other thing I was looking at is just from a coaching perspective, Mike Brown spent a lot of time there. And it wasn't like, oh, he was there a year and the guy his next job. No, he was there a long time. He's been a part of championship runs. Steve Kerr's right-hand guy. Like, they spent a lot of time together. I'm not trying to overblow it, but I feel like that's a significant storyline in this series, is the Kings coaching staff having some familiarity with not only Warriors players, but the other coaches.
Oh, it has to. I mean, if Sacramento had hired, I don't know, Mike D'Antoni, let's say, I would be like, yeah, I mean, they got a disadvantage. Mike hasn't faced, Golden State much, certainly when he was in Houston, but considering that Mike was in Golden State for, the good portion of these championships, and the roster is the same except for basically DiVincenzo and Anthony Lamb, right? Like that's kind of Jermichael Green,
Yeah.
the core guys are there, right? Curry, Thompson, Green, Looney, Poole, Wiggins, like that group is still there. So I mean, it doesn't hurt you.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't hurt you that there's some familiarity there.
If the Kings can win this series, do you think they could make a deep run here?
I mean, the West is different than the East. I think the Eastern Conference is top, the three. I don't outside of the 4-5. I think that's the Cleveland New York series. That's probably the most competitive series. I think the top three teams could walk into a conference semis pretty easily. I think you can make the argument for any of those three teams that can Milwaukee, Boston, Philly can make an NBA final. I think in the Western Conference, I think it's 7 deep. I think 7 teams can make the NBA finals.
That's wild.
I gotta say the Lakers because I work for ESPN. And we've got, consistently have to talk about them.
Dude.
So I think, certainly Denver, there's so much parity. Memphis, Sac, Phoenix, of course, is pretty much a lot of people are picking. Clippers, we'll see if they can get through Phoenix. Can you get Paul George back? Now you're looking at a Laker team, certainly LeBron, AD. I wasn't sold on the Minnesota game. Like I tweeted it during like the overtime. I said, like, can these two teams tie and just have Memphis advance to the next round? People actually thought I was serious. They're like, you can't do that. And I was like,
God.
I know. Twitter,
Yeah,
Twitter.
I literally said send both teams home. I was just like, I'm done with this. That was pretty ugly.
Yeah, I mean, they got to play a lot better to get through Memphis here. So, and then whoever's going to be 8, Minnesota or OKC, I don't see it, but I think it's top 7. It's top 7 deep as far as parity. I think any of these teams can get to a conference NBA and an NBA finals.
And that's what's crazy about this year, Bobby, is just that you think about for the Sacramento Kings, it's been 16 seasons, and it's this year that they choose to go to the playoffs when the Western Conference is at its best, right? We're just so stacked, so many teams right there next to each other. But I think, like we've already mentioned, I think the coolest thing is that the Sacramento Kings didn't limp in. They didn't have to go limp into the playoffs. They held
home court advantage in the first round.
They stayed consistent in that 3 spot. So yeah, it's a Wild West.
Yeah. The one other thing I wanted to mention before you go, I'm curious. You mentioned the size advantage with Sabonis down there. I wonder how long Kerr sticks with like that Draymond Looney front line, or does he elect to maybe go small and put Sabonis in some tough positions defensively?
Well, so that's going to be the key matchup as far as, do you match what Sacramento rolls out? If it's a Murray, Barnes, Sabonis front court here, does Looney take Sabonis and Draymond has, chases Barnes around here? That's the beauty of these things. Like what you see in game 1 is going to be a lot different than game 2. And that's where coaching comes into it here. Like every game is their own little series. Like, as I said, like you could steal game 1 or win game 1. And then all of a sudden, like game 2, you're down like 20-10. You're like, what the heck just happened? This isn't the team we saw on Saturday. And it's coaching, it's adjustments and stuff. But it's going back to Mike being in Golden State already. Like there's already that familiarity there where it's not like you're going to be catch up. You're going to play catch up on Sunday morning after that game.
Bobby believes.
I know.
I do. Kings in 6.
I do. And what's the worst thing that could happen? Golden State fans can just tweet at me and said that like the Atlanta fans after 17 ESPN employees picked the Heat to beat Atlanta, and then I got to check my Twitter feed and it's like my name is in there. Like I feel like saying, I've watched your team all year. What made you think I believe in this 41-win Atlanta team here? So that's the beauty of when you pick. Like people take this serious.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Up again. So except if you're Spears, like Sacramento fans need to give this guy crap. Mark has been the loyalist of Sacramento fans, and he'll say to you, I said in 7 games,
yes,
I don't care. Pick Sacramento. Who cares?
Yeah, you've been riding with them since July in the offseason. We were like, they're a playoff team. They're this.
He texted me the other day, and he said that he's like, Kings fans are turning on me. And I'm like, well, they're taking it personally, Spears.
Oh, dude. Well, it's going to be a lot of fun. And hopefully we catch up with you later in the postseason. Maybe the Kings get out of this thing. I don't know. It's going to be fun.
We'll do a conference finals preview in early June or May.
Bobby, you may have to be here for a conference
Well,
finals. They make
I know
it.
one place I won't have to see you guys at the draft lottery, so we won't have to worry about that.
Yes. Well, Bobby, seriously, thanks so much for hopping on with us, and keep up the great work, man. Enjoy the playoffs.
Thanks, Bobby.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.